I haven't been in the last,
Sorry.
I haven't in the last couple weeks. That's okay. But usually I track my food on my Fitness Pal pretty regularly.
Okay.
I haven't in the last probably couple months since the last challenge ended. I kind of have fallen off the track just because I had regular things that I was eating, and so I knew kind of like what I was hitting at. But I guess that's the thing, like with macros. Like on the last challenge, Nick set my macros based on like how often I was working out at the gym, looking at my, sometimes I was running, walking, sometimes I do yoga, that kind of thing. And I guess it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me because it feels like I have to eat so much.
Yeah.
And I'm in such a mindset of like from years of like, oh, restrict your calories. So I haven't been eating a lot. So the big thing that I know I've added like within the last probably 6 months is just that extra protein, like trying to eat more protein. Um, but then creatine, I was just, you see all this stuff on social media and that's popping up a lot on my thing. People are talking about it. So I'm like, okay, should I be doing that? That-
So so let's go back to the beginning
okay.
with macros. So one thing, actually, let's just talk about like nutrition in general real quick.
Okay.
So I think, and I wish I could really stress this to everybody in our gym, our just society in general has done such a good job at messing up our thought process around fitness and just health in general. If you just like look back at over the past 20 years, literally every year or two, there's a new fad that has come out that has been coined as the best program in the world. It's going to get you the most efficient, effective results. You're going to lose X amount of body fat. And then literally 2 years later, there's something completely different with the same like kind of aspect, like cut something crucial out of your diet. And then 2 years later, it's like something else. If you remember, I remember back when I was a kid, low fat was the fad.
Right.
Low fat, everything. There's like, you're finding all these chemicals to make up and just like trick your body into thinking that it's eating fat and tastes good. But then a few years later, everything's anti carb. Now you see people that are literally wrapping a jalapeno in cheddar and bacon and they're calling it a healthy meal because it's ketogenic now. So
Right.
you're always going to go through these cycles. Then fast forward a few years, it's intermittent fasting. It's like you can eat McDonald's for every meal of the day as long as you consume it within these 4 hours and you're going to lose weight. So there's always a different fad that's going to be pushed on us. And I think it messes with us mentally. We've been
Mhm.
told that carbs are bad for our body. And then on the other end, we're told how necessary they are. Back in the day, we were told that fat is one of the worst things we can be consuming. And then if you look at like the literature today, you literally can't function without fat. Your body's hormones rely on it. So going off of that, let's kind of piggyback into your macros. So if you had your macros set a couple weeks ago, like in our last challenge, let's say, um, I recommend redoing your InBody every 4 to 6 weeks. Because think about this, if we're working out in the gym, if we've gained any muscle, if we've lost fat, or on the other end, if we've lost muscle and we've gained fat, the macronutrients that our body needs on a daily basis is going to change a little bit. So,
Okay.
so that would be my first recommendation. If we're kind of like at that point where we're ready to reset ourselves and like get serious again and start fresh, let's just go ahead and start with that InBody, because a really cool thing that the InBody does is it tells you your basal metabolic rate. Do either of you guys know what that is?
It's yes. Now, can I spit it out? Not. I
Okay.
don't know that I can. I just know that's the amount that you need to eat to main calories or whatever that you need to maintain wherever you are.
Essentially, kind of sort of yes. So picture this, your basal metabolic rate is the amount of energy that your body needs to like literally survive. So for it to not to survive, but for it to function on for it to be functional. So
Okay.
in order to do things like just simply digest your food, pass blood from muscles throughout your body, that's the amount of energy that you need per day. Basically, if you were laying in bed all day, not doing anything at all, not even blinking your eyes, that's how many calories you're going to be burning. So you can take that number and look at what's my daily activity outside of that. The two of those added together is going to be your total caloric expendender throughout the day, how many
Okay.
calories you burn. So basically, think about that number. The higher that number is, the more beneficial it's going to be for us. And I'm probably getting a little bit ahead of myself,
No,
but
so I'm just, while you're saying that and I'm listening, I went back because mine stayed pretty consistent. Like it hasn't fluctuated a whole lot in all the embodies I've done. So back at the beginning of March,
okay.
when I did it, my BMR was 1470.
Okay.
So based on that, like generate like, so then what should I, where should I be now? To give
So
you,
that's where we would look at what I was talking about before. If you're interested in doing something, I don't think it's necessary. So as I say this, don't think I'm telling you to do this. But
yeah,
let's say we're interested in the calorie cycling topic. On a day that you're working out, we know that every day you're burning that, we'll call it 1400 calories a day, no matter what, whether you exercise or not. Now, on the days that you're exercising, your total caloric burn is going to be higher than the days that you're not exercising. So we might take that number into account whenever we look at how many calories throughout the day we should be eating. On our exercise days, we would look at our daily activity. How many calories did we burn on top of that 1400? And it doesn't have to be an exact number. We don't have to have like a fitness tracker on all day to make sure that we're being efficient through this. But in general, how many calories did we burn throughout our workout? Did we get an hour-long workout in? Did we stay active and walk throughout the day, or were we mostly at our desk at work? Which those things are going to help you shape and understand how many calories you should be eating throughout the day. And I was kind of going into it before, but you said that your basal metabolic rate has essentially like stayed the same and maintained the whole time.
it's been pretty similar.
Do you know what like mainly affects that number?
No, I don't know.
The amount. So think of percent body fat is not going to do a ton for that number. That number is mainly determined by the amount of lean muscle mass we have on our body. So
Okay.
think about your body kind of like a car. I know it's a weird comparison, but your engine in your body is your muscles. So for a car, think of a Honda Civic and a Ferrari. Which one
Mhm.
goes faster?
Ferrari.
And think about why, because it has a really strong engine. Now, you might not know this, but Ferraris run through a lot more gas than a car does. Think of like a jet, a really powerful jet engine goes through tons of gas to perform the way that it does, and our bodies are the same way. So our gas is calories. That's what our energy is. It fuels us and it fuels our muscles to work. If you have a stronger engine, you're going to require more gas. So if we build up our lean muscle mass in the gym and we focus on strength training, and that's honestly why we're so passionate about building strength at the gym, like literally one of our mission statements is make strength beautiful, but it's because we know that whether it's weight loss, whether it's mobility, whether it's literally just living longer and longevity throughout life, strength training is going to fill that bucket more efficiently than anything else is. So on the other hand, if our goal, which honestly it is most people's goal, to tone down and get a little bit more defined while also becoming stronger and able to do things throughout the day better, gaining that muscle mass is going to put you in a position where that basal metabolic rate goes up, and you're going to have to honestly work less to lose that weight. Think about this. If you eat the same meal every single day, and then you put 5 pounds of muscle mass on your body, and then you increase your basal metabolic rate because of that, and you still continue to eat those same meals throughout the day, you're going to be burning more calories on a daily basis simply just because your body has more muscle. At rest, you're just burning more calories because your body performs at a higher level. Does that make sense?
It does. I think I need to hear that like 5 more times so it sinks in.
Just honestly think about this. Just I don't want to like get too far into the car comparison, but that's one thing that's really always stuck out to me. The stronger your engine is, the more gas you're going to burn through. And like hearing that out loud, it might not sound like a lot. Imagine if you got a car that only got 6 miles to the gallon. At the end of the month, you would notice that gas bill a lot more than you currently do. And it's kind of like weight loss is the same way, or even toning, body fat percentage, whatever it is. If we start to build up that basal metabolic rate by adding more muscle to our body, naturally, you're going to notice that with doing less work, you're going to have better results. And that's why, honestly, like you might hear Matt and I, like we're so passionate about going heavier with your weights, obviously keeping good form, but making sure that you're challenging your body, because building up that muscle mass is what's ultimately going to get you towards the goal that you're looking for. And that honestly is for anybody. If you're looking to If you're somebody who wants to build up your muscle mass and bulk and get bigger and just like look like an athlete, it's going to help you. If your goal is to tone down and get honestly a smaller frame, it's going to benefit you as well. Adding muscle doesn't always mean adding more muscle fibers and surface area to your body. We might just be making that muscle stronger and leaner, just
Mhm.
higher quality muscle. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does.
Now, I know we kind of like talked about just basal metabolic rate and like why I think you should be doing your in-bodies. So like that's the main reason. Right now, your basal metabolic rate, even if it's a little bit different, it might be slightly different than it was before. And if not, that's okay. But from that number, we'll start to determine what your daily caloric intake should be based on your goals. And that's going to be different for everybody. You and Megan are going to have two different plans based on like what you're looking to achieve. But what we're doing in the gym essentially is going to be looking the same. It's the nutrition
Now,
side.
so I'm sorry to interrupt you. So if I do an updated in body and I send it to you and my calories have changed, so I could eat, let's say 2,000 calories of crap, like, will you be able to tell me too, then like how to focus proteins, carbs, all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
too? Fat?
So that's the cool thing with those calories. Basically, the way that we determine how many macronutrients you guys should have is we go off percentages. So everybody, not for the most part, we use similar percentages for most people. But what we'll do is we'll take the total calories per day, and I'm just going to throw some random numbers out. Let's say we're aiming for 35% carbohydrates, 35% fat, and then what's the remaining 30% protein? That we would just take the numbers based on there's 4 calories per gram of protein, there's 4 calories per gram of carbohydrates, there's 9 calories per gram of fat. Fun fact, there's 7 grams of calorie, I believe it's 7 grams of calorie or 7 calories per gram of alcohol.
Really? Oh, that is a
And
good.
the crazy thing about alcohol is unlike protein, carbohydrates, and fat, it's not useful for your body. It does absolutely nothing except add calories. Carbohydrates and fat, they're going to give you energy. They're going to make you function. Protein's going to build your muscles. Alcohol, it doesn't do anything. So just think about that. But
Even if it's beer and it's brewed from
you know,
grain.
there's some carbs in beer. I will say that.
Okay, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
But no, so now I got off track. But what we
Sorry.
do is we take those numbers and we basically do a little math equation for your macros. Honestly, you guys don't need to know any of that. We'll do it for you. Just come talk to us coaches. If you're
Now,
interested, we'll explain it.
here's my other question though. Do you take into consideration age and us females who are in that age of,
So the factors that I take into account whenever I'm creating a diet plan for somebody, just general daily activity, exercise activity, age, gender, height and weight. And then even like little things like the in-body goes a lot further. That goes down to like how hydrated are you? We really look at the demographics for each person to make sure, because somebody that's older is going to have a slower metabolism on average than somebody that's younger. So we look into all that stuff for you guys. And we have all of that information on your profiles. So like, even if we don't ask you directly, we know it.
yeah, okay.
But yeah, typically it's age, gender, height, weight, just like the general doctor's office readings that we go through. And then I like to look at general activity because most of us, even if we don't realize it, we are sedentary throughout the day. Even me as a trainer who's coaching 4 classes a day, I would only consider myself honestly as like just active. I wouldn't even say I'm like construction worker active. There's like different grades. There's sedentary, lightly active, active, and then very active. As a trainer, I put myself in the active category, and that's with 4 workouts a week too. So I think a lot of people overestimate how much they actually do throughout the day. I'd say 95% of us should be considered as sedentary, unfortunately.
And then, so going back to, because you talked about this a little bit, on the days, so like, just because of my schedule and where I live and everything, I can only get into the gym twice. And I
Okay.
try to do other things. How do you adjust though? Like, okay, on the days you go to the gym, do this, but on the days you're not, do that. Like, do you, or do you just do like an app, just eat that every day? Eat that amount every day.
So the way that just curious, can you guys hear that truck in the background right now? Okay,
I
perfect.
can't.
Okay, there's a huge semi right outside of the garage right now. So the way that we program these, we aim to hit every muscle group and every movement pattern multiple times throughout the week. So even if you are only able to do specific days and you miss out, let's say on our squat day or our deadlift day, even if you're not doing a deadlift specifically, we're still doing a hip hinge throughout the day. And we try to make sure that we keep that as evenly like distributed, because we know that there's some people that come in 4 times a week, there's some that are 3 times a week, and there's some that are only 2 times a week. So we try to make sure on our end that you guys are covered on that. Now, with that being said, a general recommendation is to try and stay active anywhere from 3 to 4 times a week. I just look at a 7-day week and I try to be active for at least like half or the majority of that week. And that's just like my general recommendation for anybody.
But not necessarily like, because like some days, like I had been trying to get on like virtual, but sometimes I feel like I don't get quite, just either I don't have the right equipment, or I'm worried that because I've had issues where with my form and things like that, like I don't want to hurt myself because I'm not as focused like when I'm there with you or with Nick. So I guess on those days that I'm not in the gym, is walking for a certain amount of time enough? Like, should I be should I be adding something else? Like I used to be, I was a runner before I came to Matt. Matt kind of steered me away from that.
So,
I still like to run, but I don't run as much.
here's what I would generally like, what I would recommend off the top of my head. If you have the time to look through the week and see what days and I know like schedule is going to be an issue as well, but see what days we're doing what exercises on, and maybe pick the day that is most convenient for your at home workout. Like you have the equipment I always think squats, you can squat anywhere. We can do a goblet squat in our house the same way that we do in the gym, and kind of like the same thing for bench press. A deadlift day, on the other hand, we know that we probably don't have as much weight at your house as you do at the gym, and you're capable of lifting that. So I would prioritize coming to the gym on a deadlift day for, let's say. Same thing with like hip thrust day. If you notice that that's a workout that you have trouble doing at your house, prioritize those and then try to fit at least a third virtual workout. For anybody watching this who doesn't know, those virtual workouts are included in your plan, so take advantage of them. We don't charge extra for that. That'll give you at least a session that you're going to get guidance on. We have our headphones in the whole time so we can hear any of the questions that you guys ask, even if we don't directly have our eyes on you at the moment. So I would recommend doing at least 3 workouts a week. And then past that, if you want to add a run, a bike, some sort of cardio in, or even just like generally walk around, I think that's good too. For everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. I work with you very often, so like I just know what you're capable of. And I personally think that you're capable of a little bit more than a walk on your 3rd day.
Okay.
And like if I was like having a one-on-one meeting with you specifically, Darcy, I would personally try to figure out how we could get 4 workouts in per week. And those 2 workouts that you're not going to be at the gym at, they don't need to be 10 out of 10 difficulty workouts. Maybe those are the days that we focus on the form of exercises and use as more of like a supplemental workout. We don't go as heavy as possible, but we focus on slower tempo movements so that whenever we come back into the gym, we can push our waist a little bit more. We know that our form's good. I personally do that in a lot of my workouts, and I'm not going to go into that because I could talk for an hour, but I'm also going to do another one of these calls where I explain to you the fashion and how us coaches work out. And it might surprise a lot of people. The intensity that we put on ourselves is not as high as you guys might think it is. I think a lot of people think us coaches are doing like 2-hour strenuous workouts every day. And the reality is some days you guys are lifting heavier than we are in here. We really, I don't want to speak for everybody. Me personally, I am very big. My philosophy is that a good body weight squat through a full range of motion with good control is going to do more than a heavy goblet squat is going to do, or even a heavy barbell back squat. So, and I put that for every exercise across the board. So if we know that there's things that we can improve on that we've been working on, take the time during those days to maybe not push yourself to like full exertion, but just simply take the time to go through your reps with like mindfulness and be controlled through the movement.
Mhm.
Whenever I shifted my focus from younger Bobby that just wanted to go into the gym every day and leave crawling out of the gym in a puddle of sweat to doing a proper warm up every day, lifting weights that don't push me to failure. Like I rarely ever fail out anymore. And I've noticed that magically I'm not working as hard, but my results have gotten so much better without injury along the way. So that's what we try to push onto you clients too as well. We don't want you to feel like you have to come in here and give everything that you have every single day, because that's probably going to put you in a worse spot than if we just took our time and went through the process slowly.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. That's good info. Yep.
General recommendation: 2 workouts in the gym. Let's do 2 light sessions virtually, and don't expect to leave there sweated in a puddle of sweat. Let's just use it as a supplemental workout. See how your body changes over the next 4 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Megan. Got any questions for me? You've been quiet down there.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm listening. I'm listening. Darcy had lots of good questions.
Thank you guys for showing up today too, because otherwise I'm just kind of creating content and hoping that everybody finds use out of it.
Yeah, I think sometimes just this time of day is a little bit
Tough, yeah.
tricky for people to get on live. I had a question. Lynn had posted something in the community chat about like protein within half an hour
Yeah.
of your workout. So I was just wondering if I like walk after the workout, is it better, but like not at a high intensity, like walking the dogs for a while or whatever? Is
Yeah.
it better to get some protein in like right after the intense like lifting part of the workout and then walk? Or does
So this is, so first of all, there's a lot of science on this, and there's a lot of debate on like when is the most beneficial time to get that protein in. So I'll start out by saying my general opinion is the sooner you get it in, the better. There's studies that show that your window to get the most benefit out of that protein is within 30 minutes, like Lynn said. Back in the day, there was some other ones that showed that it was within 2 hours. I've seen studies that show anywhere up to 48 hours, your body is going to use that protein synthesis to build up muscles that have been broken down during your workout. And for anybody that's like watching this, essentially, whenever you work out, you have muscle fibers in your body and you get these microscopic tears in those muscles that, just like anything else in your body, think of just simply cutting your skin and scar tissue growing back. Your body repairs itself to be stronger so that whenever it faces a similar stress, it's more prepared for it. So basically your muscle breaks down to build back stronger. The way that it builds back is it uses that protein. So in general, I say if you're like taking your walk for 30 minutes and it's not too strenuous and like you can stomach a drink while you're doing that, knock 2 birds out with 1 stone. If you wait until after your walk and you wait up to an hour after your walk, I don't think it's the end of the world. But like I said in the beginning, just the sooner that we get it in, the better. And if you're anything like me, if I don't take my supplements right after a workout, like I forget. I go straight into teaching 3 classes. I'll start cleaning up the gym afterwards. Next thing I know, it's 9 p.m. and I'm like, oh, I forgot to take my protein or my creatine. So that would just be my recommendation. Take it as soon as you can afterwards. The sooner the better. And then from another aspect, if you think about it this way, I try to look at protein, and me personally, I try to consume protein every 2 to 3 hours. It doesn't always work out that way, and I'm not perfect about it. But if you can consume protein immediately after your workout, that's probably going to allow you to get an extra serving in throughout the day. And if you're anything like the majority of people, we do not get enough protein in our diet, so that's going to benefit you. Okay. Now,
Real quickly, the creatine, when you said you get your protein, your creatine, just touch on that real quick.
I was about to literally circle back to that. So creatine is First of all, it's the most widely researched supplement there is. So it has been deemed safe for almost, if you watch my video, there's special populations that creatine isn't recommended for. And I'd say like over 90% of people should feel safe taking it. If you're concerned about like any side effects that you might see with it, you can always like consult a doctor. But for the most part, if you're not dealing with anything that I mentioned in that video, you're probably safe taking creatine. So creatine is a source of energy. I think people think that it's this like magical supplement that you put into your body and it just like does crazy things. All creatine really is a different form of carb loading in a way. Now, creatine is not a carbohydrate, but have you guys ever heard of like the typical practice for a football team or a cross country team? The day before a big race or a big game, they'll eat a big plate of spaghetti the night before and carb load. I remember we used to do it in high school football. We would have like a big team dinner. They would feed us a ton of pasta the night before. And the theory was that you're loading up on all these carbs so that they stay in your body. The next day, whenever you have your game, you have all of this energy that's just ready for use. True to an extent, creatine is the same way. So whenever you use energy in your body, you get that energy from different sources. You use carbohydrates, you use fat, you use oxygen, and you use your creatine phosphate system. Whenever you're doing your first, I'd say 10 to 15 seconds of exercise, that's pretty much purely coming from creatine. So think about different sports and the events and just the way that those athletes look and how they train. And it kind of like explains this. So sprinter athletes creatine is very important for them. If you look at a lot of like explosive sports, power movements, those athletes are taking creatine because it's helping them tap into that source of energy for the first 15 seconds. And I know that this is kind of boring. I'll lead into like why creatine benefits your body. But after that first 15 seconds, then you start tapping into other sources of energy. Correct me if I'm not exactly right on this. I haven't taken anatomy in a little while, but I believe right after you go through your creatine phosphate system, you start utilizing carbohydrates as your source of energy along with oxygen. After you go past a certain point, you start using fat as your main source of energy. All of this you don't really need to remember, but if you look at your different athletes, that's why maybe a distance athlete that's running for distances of like 45 minutes or longer, they have so much fat in their diet because after a certain point, almost all of that energy is coming from fat primarily. But whenever we're in the gym, think about the start of every single exercise that you do in here, your first couple reps, they're always going to depend on your creatine and your creatine phosphate system for that energy. So if we are supplementing with that, we simply are going to be more capable whenever we're doing our activities in the gym. So we're going to be able to increase our endurance throughout it because we're going to have more energy as we go through our reps, but it's also going to do things like just build up our strength in general. Just make sure that we have more to give as we go through it. Now, creatine does a lot of other things than just give you energy in general. It hydrates your muscles. So it does put water into your body. That's going to benefit in other ways. Visually, it might make you look more defined in certain ways. Now, this isn't always the case. So don't think if you take creatine, you're just magically going to bulk up. I wish it worked like that, but it doesn't. But on the other end, your muscles are more hydrated now, so they're able to just perform activity better. Now, on the level that we recommend creatine for just the majority of our population, regardless of age, gender, physical activity, like your level of activity right now, not your level of activity, how advanced you are, how athletic you are. We recommend that it's beneficial for everybody. There's a lot of cognitive benefits that are coming from it. It's still being researched, but essentially it's even being researched right now to see if it can help with people with schizophrenia and like disorders, mental disorders. I wish I had a lot more information. I don't do the science and research on it. As far as me, I've been taking it for a few years now. I recommend it to the majority of my clients because I know that If you're coming from a stance of wanting to lose body fat, if you want to gain muscle, which most people in here do want to do, it's going to benefit you in that aspect. But then on the other end, it's going to benefit you in just many other areas too. I'm not going to say that if you take creatine, it's going to have you thinking more clearly, but there has been research that shows that it literally benefits your reasoning. It benefits your just cognitive abilities. That is all debatable though, so it's not for sure. In general, what I can say is creatine has been deemed very safe to take, and in my opinion, it's very beneficial for most people.
Okay.
Help at all?
Yeah. Do
Feel
you
like
guys
I'm
do you
kinda
guys
all over the place.
recommend like because you see all kinds of stuff all over the internet.
Yeah.
Do you guys recommend some brands or
So me and Matt take different brands, but in general, there's a lot of marketing around creatine and supplements. So don't fall for this creatine is better than this one. Micronized creatine monohydrate. It comes in either powders or capsules. It is the cheapest form of creatine, and that's the one that's been widely researched. I don't remember off the top of my head, but you're going to see creatine that's claimed to be alkyl creatine. There's a couple different ones out there, but they're twice as expensive and they do the exact same thing. So just don't fall for the marketing.
okay. All right.
Creatine monohydrate. And you're also, some of the bottles might tell you that you need to do a creatine loading phase, meaning that you need to take more for the first 2 weeks than you do afterwards so that you can build up the supply in your body. That's also not true. Creatine, whenever you take it, if you exceed the amount that your body can absorb, you're literally just going to pee it out. So my recommendation is, I'll say it again, micronized creatine monohydrate, either powder or capsules. Me personally, I take it from Optimum Nutrition. I ordered it on Amazon Prime and it's usually there within the next day. Take 5 grams daily. Be sure to stay hydrated. That's very, very important because if you're not hydrated, one, it can't absorb into your body in the first place. But two, it might cause things like muscle cramps. It might cause things like headaches. I will say that is the one side effect of creatine that is unpleasant. Younger Bobby dealt with that one as well. I didn't keep hydration at the top of my priority list, and there's been a few nights that I've taken creatine while being dehydrated, and I woke up with some intense stomach cramps. It is not fun. So simply stay hydrated, and you won't have that issue. Hasn't happened to me for over 5 years, but I also try to get a gallon a day in now.
Okay. Good
Okay.
information. Yep.
Trying to think of anything else around creatine that would be beneficial for you guys. If you have more individualized questions about that, feel free to reach out to me. Now, before I did that, the video on creatine, I kind of made up a PowerPoint and everything. So it wasn't all just coming off the top of my head. I had it more in front of me. There's some good information on that if you guys want to look through it. So a lot of the questions that I went through today can be explained more clearly on that video.
Okay.
Okay.
I need to prioritize that and go back and look at it.
But in general, seriously, I recommend creatine for almost everybody. Initially, you might worry that you may see your body weight go up by like 2 to 3 pounds, but that's going to even back off. Don't be concerned with it. I think it's been unfairly coined as this bulking supplement, and females have been scared to take it, not realizing how beneficial it can be for you guys as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I have an 82-year-old client who we're contacting his doctor because he has some other things going on, but I'm recommending him to take creatine if his doctor allows it. So I think it's good for everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, thanks.
All right, guys. Now, do we we're at 50 right now, so we went over a little bit, but that's fine with me. Do you guys have any other questions?
I don't think so.
Let me ask you this, and it's okay if not. Do you guys have a topic of anything that you think would be beneficial for me to discuss? And I'd love for it to not just be generally based around macronutrients, because I can have those. I can have those talks with any of you guys individually. I'd love to just see a topic that, and if you guys don't have anything on the top of your mind, that's fine. Just trying to find a topic that's out of the ordinary that would benefit our members.
I don't know. I think I like the one point that you made that I feel like I'm trying to shift my mindset from when I started at the gym is to focus more on not be so set on I've got to lift heavier, I've got to lift heavier, even though it's good,
Yep.
but to be really aware and focused on my form and what I'm using in my body when I'm doing each exercise, because I don't think I've ever really been taught that or been aware of it. And that's been kind of my shift. So I don't know if there's anything around that that I think would be interesting, because I feel like everybody, you want to lift heavier and you want to get stronger, but I feel like I tried not to let that be my focus.
Yep.
So maybe that
Darcy,
mind
that
shift.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I've been trying to do the same thing. I was like lifting heavier and I tried to like take a step back and like really focus on like taking my time and doing the right form and everything too. Like I completely agree with what you said.
And honestly, like hearing you guys say this out loud, like it reminds me of a younger me. No, no, seriously, you're going through the process that most people go through. Every one of us coaches have felt exactly how you feel right now. Basically, and it's different for everybody. I'm not going to say everybody has the same experience, but in general, whenever you start to become more consistent at a gym, you're going to notice that your body's changing. And if you do things certain ways, it might happen a little bit more rapidly. So for me personally, I noticed that whenever my coach called me out and was like, hey, you can do more, lift heavier weights and just keep your form as good. I noticed that when I continuously did that week by week, my muscles started growing faster. I started gaining muscle mass. I started seeing the results that I was looking for. And to a certain extent, you're like, okay, if I lift heavier weights, that equals bigger muscles. So let's just keep lifting heavier and heavier and heavier. And it's going to keep getting better and better and better. And at a certain point, that's not true. We don't always have to keep adding weight and adding weight. And I think you guys are at the point where you've realized, like, if I keep going heavier, the quality of my form is going to go down. Not only might I get injured, but I'm not going to get the most out of this exercise anymore. I'm sure you guys have heard Nick say strength with length before, but I'm all about full range of motion. So if at any point that weight puts us to a point where we can't go through a full range of motion anymore, then it's not benefiting us the same way it was. So you guys are at that point now where you start to realize you're strong. I have this strength, but I want to make sure I'm using it the right way. After you take a couple weeks and you start to really focus on form, and maybe some of us coaches give you different tempo exercises, which I know we've done a few times to work on, just really learning how to control that movement pattern. And it can be different for every single exercise across the board. There might be some that you're really good at and some that we need to work at for weeks, but you're going to notice that as you shift from trying to lift as heavy as possible to trying to lift with as good of quality as possible, you're going to get good results off of that too in a different way. What I've generally noticed is, and this is different for everybody, so not different for everybody, but you can achieve different goals through different methods. If you lift heavier, it's going to promote your body to put on more lean muscle mass. Like I said, not always, so don't be scared to lift heavy weights. But on the other end, I've noticed that if your goal is more of definition and toning, that tempo and range of motion and focusing on your form is super important. It's going to make sure that you're using every single one of those muscles the way that they're intended to be. And that's what's going to show at the end of the day. If we combine the two of those and we figure out, I can lift this amount of weight and put myself at the exact intensity that I want while maintaining good form, we're going to get the best of those two worlds and put it together. It's a process. It takes a little bit of time. So kind of like what this rant is getting at, because us coaches have been talking about it, we're going to have a day where we're going to offer you guys the opportunity to come work out with us coaches under different workouts. So Nick's going to have his own workout going over there. I'm going to have my own workout going over here. Matt might have his over there. We might do it on different days throughout the month. It's not going to be an every week thing, but we want you guys to see how we personally train so that you can get an idea and understand that it's not always go, go, go in here. It's not always, excuse my French, balls to the wall as hard as you can, but it's about being mindful through your movements and focusing on like where you're specifically at in your journey. If I went into Matt's workout today and he's doing a bench day, if you guys are aware of my shoulder, I'm not going to hold up too well to his workout. So I need to modify it for my body. And that's not to say that we can't both work towards the same goal in our own fashion. So what we're trying to do is show you guys what you should be thinking about. Should you be focused on going heavier? Should you be focused on form right now and not kind of like sitting in limbo wondering what you should be focusing on? Okay.
Yeah,
And
I love that.
That's more to come.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I won't hold you guys all day. But do you guys have any other questions for me? I know I've
Nope,
asked that about 3
that's
times.
it. After I
I
process
don't-
this, I might.
What's that?
I said, after I process all this, I might
Okay.
send you a message.
And for anybody watching these calls, in general, we're going to try to give you just a basic understanding of the things that we talk about. But if your goals and this is truly a priority to you, don't hesitate to just reach out to us and schedule a one-on-one meeting, because a lot of the questions that you probably have are going to be a little bit more personal and individualized than the stuff that we talk about. I can tell you guys all about how efficient your body can be and how we can make it more efficient. But if you don't understand what you should be eating on a daily basis compared to what Darcy is and what Megan is, it's honestly not going to do a whole ton for you. So just come talk to us and we'll steer you in the right direction every time.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for joining, guys. I hope you have a nice rest of your Wednesday.
You too.
Thanks, Bobby.
Bye.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye, Darcy.
See you,
See you.
Megan.
Bye.